All right, so let's go over to our example here with the baker. And what we said previously is that the minimum amount of cookies that can be made is 0, okay? And number of cookies, all right, and less than or equal to 216. And in 3 hours at 10 minutes per batch, we know that the baker with 1 oven and 2 cookie sheets and all the ingredients they need can make somewhere between 0 cookies and 216 cookies. This is the fewest, this is the most, okay? So here's the idea. The idea of capacity utilization, it's basically a percentage, okay? It's a percentage of sorts. The idea is how much of the productive capacity are you using or are we using? Utilization means usefulness or the degree to which it's being used, okay? And capacity, that's our productive capacity. So, how much are we using our productive capacity? So this baker right here, if this baker in 3 hours was producing 216 cookies, then that baker is fully utilizing the productive capacity. Fully. That's 100%. That's 100% capacity utilization. But if this baker in that 3 hours produces 0 cookies, that's 0% capacity utilization. All right? So I'm going to give you a definition here for capacity utilization. It's the degree or extent to which productive capacity is used. And you can calculate this very simply. Capacity utilization is equal to, now I'm really only giving you this formula as a conceptual thing. I may ask you to calculate capacity utilization, but for the most part, it's not something I'm going to have you calculate. It's more of a conceptual formula than it is a practical formula, okay? Capacity utilization is equal to output divided by productive capacity, all right? And so a very simple example here, I'm going to grab a calculator over here. Let's say that this particular baker one day produced, in the 3 hours, produced 193 cookies. So capacity utilization, if actual output by the baker was 193, but we know that in 3 hours that baker could produce 216 cookies, then if we do 193 divided by 216, that's 0.8935. And I'm going to change it to a percentage, 89.35% capacity utilization. So this particular baker on that day would be experiencing, will have exhibited 89.35% utilization of the capacity, okay? Not full capacity, but still 89.35% isn't that terrible, okay? So this idea of capacity utilization in macroeconomics brings up this question of how useful or how much use are we actually getting out of our factors of production? Are we using our factors of production wisely, or are we wasting factors of production? The closer we are to 100% here, the more efficient we are being with our resources. But the smaller this percentage is, the farther this number is away from 100%, the more wasteful we are being with our factors of production. And so what we would like to do in the macroeconomy is we would like to get this number as close to 100% as possible. Why do we want this to be close to 100%? Here's why. The closer that capacity utilization is to 100%, the more utility we are experiencing in our society. We could be having 216 cookies, but we're not having 216 cookies, we're having 193 cookies. And it could be that each person could have more cookies each if we had 216 cookies. Or what if there are 216 people? Well, only 193 people are going to get cookies, and 23 people are not going to get a cookie. And now what's going to happen is those 23 people are going to look at the 193 people and say, hey, no fair. Why'd you guys all get a cookie and I didn't get a cookie? And now those 23 people might go get guns and go to the 193 people and say, give me your cookie or I'm going to shoot you. See, when we operate closer to capacity utilization, we're more likely to satisfy all the needs and wants that we are capable of satisfying. Now, if there are 300 people who want cookies, and we can only produce 216 cookies, then even on our best day, there will still be 84 people who aren't going to get a cookie. And those 84 people might still be mad. But at least the reason they're mad isn't because we're not doing our best. It's just because we're not capable. Our best just isn't good enough to satisfy all people. And so this idea of capacity utilization is important from a sociological point of view because the people are going to want to be satisfied. And that's ultimately what we want here. I want to remind you that in macroeconomics, our primary goal is to give the people of society the most satisfaction that they can have. We want to give them as much satisfaction, and next year we want to give them more satisfaction than they had this year. The most utility possible. The primary goal of macroeconomics is to maximize utility for all of the people, across all of the people in the society. Okay? And so if we can understand capacity utilization and try to make capacity utilization as close to 100% as possible, then we'll be experiencing a lot more utility in our society. Okay? That is output, productive capacity, and capacity utilization.